I'm Lori Aikman, and I'm a functional health practitioner helping busy working professional moms boost their energy, lose weight, and balance hormones naturally. There you go. All right, Jenny, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. You and I always feel like I get to bring these amazing women on that I know, and I have to think about it as like, people might be hearing this that don't know you. And I have to go, this is, just talk from a perspective of who you are. But I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today. You and I know each other before. You've spoken, done some workshops in my community. And then I've also been in workshops that you've done in other communities. And so I'm excited to share you with the world, and everybody just get to be in your magic today. So can you tell us a little bit about, who you are, what you do, where you live, which is so amazing because we're on opposite sides of the world from each other today.
Yes, so my name is Jenny, and I was born and raised in Germany, and then I was in the US for 8 years, and I've traveled for 4 years, and now I'm in South Africa, kind of settled down for, I don't know how many years or months, we will see, but this is where I'm settled at for right now, South Africa, and it's beautiful here, it's lovely.
Wow. How did you pick South Africa? I'm curious.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Instagram made me do it, I used to be a travel blogger at some point, and I just saw all these beautiful pictures about Cape Town, and I was like, holy crap, I need to go there. This looks so beautiful and so amazing. And so came there, and I just fell in love with Cape Town, and then a few years later I fell in love with my boyfriend, and so that's why I've settled here for the moment.
Wonderful. Oh, so is he from there?
Yeah,
he lives there at least. Got it.
He's from here. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Awesome. And so you said you used to be a travel blogger too.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I was.
Yeah.
Into the burnout conversation, right?
Yeah, so, there we go. We can just dive right in, because that was kind of part of your story of like your many hats you wore, many roles that you had.
Yeah, so in 2015, I quit my job as a managing editor of 22 newspaper because of my first hypnosis session.
Okay.
And I wanted to travel the world and work online. And literally like 6 months later, I started doing that. Mm-hmm. And because I was not really quite sure how I would do it, or, what I could do or whatever, I tried different things, but because I really wanted to have that freedom of location, of time, and then eventually becoming financially independent. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it was literally, first I was working I was trying to be a travel blogger, and my blog was so successful that I was getting like free safaris, free tours, free
oh my gosh
things, but only in exchange for writing. So I wouldn't make any money off of that, but I would get free stuff and amazing things. And so it was a great way to travel the world. I do not regret it. And then at the same time, I was working for doing, like transcribing and doing PowerPoint presentations and all of that kind of stuff. Then I got another job as a translator. And then I love photography and documentary making. So I was also doing that. And then in 2018, because hypnosis has helped me so much, I decided to become a hypnotherapist. So in 2018, I was juggling 5 different things, projects, jobs, wow, everything that I love doing. But at the same time, I couldn't give anything 100%.
Got it. Well, and what you said there, I'm curious real quick, how many languages do you speak?
I speak 2 fluently. I can get around in another 2. So, and then I'm currently trying to learn a little bit of Zulu because my boyfriend speaks that, and people here in South Africa speak that a lot. And I'm curious about Arabic and Portuguese, and I love languages. So.
Wonderful. Yeah. When you said translator, I was like, oh, I wonder how many languages she speaks. I feel like, I'm in the US. I can speak a very small amount of Spanish, just growing up in Florida. And I always feel like when I travel, so I feel like such in other countries, I'm like, God, people know so many languages, and I know one language fluently. So, okay. So back to, I think something that was so key in what you were talking about was you had this transformative experience with the hypnotherapy session. You knew you had this dream of like this traveling the world, digital nomad maybe. And so you took on all these roles really to make that dream happen, is what I heard you say, which I feel like is so many, the high achieving, driven woman, that might be listening to this, that's like you have this, okay, I'm going to do this thing. And so the next steps are like so much energy output, right? And so many, let me take on all the roles and kind of, what I've recognized even in myself is like moving into like over functioning and like trying to, we're hustling to make things happen, but really it's from a place of like having a dream in our heart. It's not because we like hate ourselves and we want to make our lives difficult or something. Would you say that? I mean, that's what I heard you say, I guess, of like, you kind of took on all these roles because of that. Oh, okay, I want to make this happen.
Absolutely. That is completely true. And ironically, what I wanted most was freedom.
Yeah. Oh,
like you
my
heard me say that too,
gosh.
like time freedom. I had
Yes.
location freedom for sure. But time freedom and money freedom weren't quite there yet. So
Sure. And I think especially anyone that's an entrepreneur, right? I see memes about that all the time of like, I gave up my 9 to 5 so that I could work, 24 hours a day, work all the time now in my own job. So yeah. I always just think if someone has never had experienced hypnotherapy or hypnosis, and they don't really know what was transformative. I'd love to hear your first experience. What was that like, and what made that so impactful for you?
So before that first hypnotherapy session, I was actually kind of in a place in my life where I felt like my purpose, my job had no purpose. I wasn't fulfilled in it. I knew I was not gonna go up to become CEO of the company or whatever, just because I was already underneath the CEO. And I was like, what else is there left? What else can I do? And so that trickled over into my personal life, to whereas I was making really, really, really bad decisions with men and with alcohol and with other things. So I was just not fulfilled. I was out of control, so to say, and just nothing made sense. And I was like, I need help. And then my friend, she was like, hey, why don't you go to my hypnotherapist? And I trusted this friend because she had introduced me to the book, The Secret. So I was like, okay, we're kind of on the same vibe. So let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to that hypnotherapist, and hypnosis is basically like a guided meditation with a purpose, and it's simply putting someone into relaxation. So what she did, she put me into relaxation so hard that I don't remember anything other than me putting all my negative things into a hot air balloon and then having it fly off. That's all I remember. And then literally I went home the next morning at 5 a.m. I woke up and I had made the decision to quit my job and travel the world. So this is how impactful hypnosis can be, even if you don't remember everything.
Even if you have no idea what happened. Because you're getting into the theta brainwaves, right? When you're in more of that meditative state. So it's kind of like, I've heard people describe as like that, when you're about to fall asleep, you're still aware, but you're not asleep yet.
That is it. And also when you do something you love, and when you forget all time and space, like for example, when you dance or when you draw or when you are with your kids or whatever, that's also something, same brainwave state kind of.
Wow. Beautiful. Okay. So you were making this dream happen. You had taken on all these roles. Apparently there had to have been like a breaking point or somehow where you realized like, okay, this is not sustainable. What did that look like for you?
That breaking point was when I had in the beginning of 2019, I had traveled, I think I wrote you like 18 countries. I had slept in 50 plus beds. I had been on I think 4 or 5 continents and 17 flights or whatever. So
yeah,
it was
you said
madness
17
in
flights.
4 months.
Oh
in 4 months. And I was just I was in Egypt. I remember it was like this little small town in Egypt, and it was by the beach, and it was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And everyone would think like, oh my God, you have the life, you travel so much, you get to visit all these countries and all your friends in all these countries. But I found myself waking up crying and being so unhappy that I was
No.
asking myself, like, what is going on right now? Something is happening with me. And then I just asked my dad, I was like, hey, Dad, can I just come stay with you for like a few months? Because I'm so tired and I'm so burnt out. And I'm
Mm.
just incredibly unhappy. And I don't know what's going on. I cried to him. And the best dad that he is, he was like, of course, Jenny, come home. And then
Mhm.
I found out that I had caught tuberculosis, which is TB, which is for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's a potentially deadly disease that
Mhm.
attacks your lungs. It's bacteria in your lungs. And if you don't fight it, you can die from it. But there
Mhm.
is antibiotics that when you're given them, it gets better within like 2 days. However, there were a few things coming into place where I couldn't like right away take care of it, or where I also didn't, and I had it for like a long time until I was basically unable to breathe.
Wow.
And then, because in Germany they took like forever to do the testing because it's not common there, and
Okay.
so I had
But
to
you had been
go.
traveling, so you were probably exposed in your travel. Hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
And
very
my immune system,
contagious.
yeah, my immune system must have been like on the
Mhm.
floor.
Yeah.
And so I was only able to really get it over with here in South Africa, because here it takes like 3 days to detect, or even 2 days.
Mhm.
And that was another what's the word, effect of my burnout, basically. Like that was another thing that just added to just being
Like a
completely
sign. Yeah.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And I think that, um, I remember just my background, as a nurse practitioner, I working in family practice, and I remember like making that connection for my patients sometimes of like all this, like people would have like a lot of stress, or maybe, and I feel like a lot of times we minimize our stress. And then they would be like, okay, all this stuff is going on in my body. And I'm like, yeah, your stress is literally making your body sick. Uh, but it's like somehow we expect that we can function like a machine or like a robot, and we can just keep going. And like people are like, oh, I can live off, a couple hours of sleep. It's like, well, you can to a point. So, wow. Okay. So you got to this point where you realized you needed a break. So you went to stay with your dad. What did you do during that time? Did you decide to quit some jobs, or did you continue to do those but not travel, or what did that look like? And um yeah, your recovery from the TB as well.
Yeah, so I stopped traveling for a few months,
Mhm.
and I asked myself, okay, I need to do one thing, and I need to give it 100%, because giving everything 20 or 25% is not going to help me or anyone else.
Mhm.
So I decided to fully go in with hypnosis and make it my full-time business. And that was the time when I started the podcast, when I got my website, when I started working with clients. And then I also narrowed it down to just one job on the side that I could do to like financially, keep myself afloat. And that just made all of the difference. So I feel like after I
Mhm.
made that decision, my mind was clear, yet my body was still not in the clear, because my body was still fucked. Like it took me a few months with
Mhm.
the TB to really tackle that. So
Sure.
it took me like probably 6 to 9 months to completely recover.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's totally realistic. I know when I work with my clients, when they're really in that full burnout stage, when we see I always tell people, I remember learning this rule of thumb of however many years you've been like in burnout and going through stuff like that, you need like probably at least that many months to recover. So and like I've got some clients that are like, oh yeah, it's been since my last kid that's like 10 years old now that I've had all these symptoms. I'm like, yeah, it's been a long time. So it's not gonna, we're unfortunately, I think that it can be such a beautiful thing of realizing we need to give ourselves grace and space and slow the demand down on our body and give ourselves a slow recovery, rather than like, I'm just going to take this medicine. It's going to make me all better. And I'm going to pop right back and I'm going to keep over functioning like I was, in the first place that got me here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
so then you went all in on hypnosis, which you are amazing, by the way. I would like, we'll talk about, you've got some resources you're going to share. But you went all in on that. And then you had this side job. And then do you think, this is a question that came up, because you loved, and you still travel, correct? You still love to travel. So what's the difference now, would you say? You were traveling before, right? And you're traveling now more. I mean, you're a little more settled down. Maybe you don't do quite as much travel, but is there a difference, would you say, in like your alignment, or what, like, can somebody still have, in your opinion, a demanding lifestyle without burning out, as long as they're maybe aligned with like their purpose and like what's your opinion on that? I'd love to hear.
That's an interesting question. So for me, I purposefully make my lifestyle now so that I'm not that, like, there's not as much demand, right?
Mm-hmm.
I create my demand because like I put the pressure on myself as an entrepreneur, especially. I have to make sure, I put out content, I do all of the things. But what I can do also as an entrepreneur is I have the freedom to do it because I love it. And I can do it from a place of inspiration, which is alignment. So I can put all of these things into place where I will be in alignment. And me as a manifesting generator from my human design, it's very interesting. I can have the most amount of energy when I'm really, really fired up by something, right? I can work 3 days in a row, like from freaking 6 to 6, and I wouldn't care. But I purposefully now say, you know what, I'm just going to tackle this now for a few hours and then I'm going to leave it. And I really make time, and I make sure to have time to just do things my way, and also to recover and to do a lot of things that serve me. And what was really important was, when you asked about the traveling, what's different now, right, is back earlier, I was traveling for either to visit friends, to go to seminars with them, to go somewhere for their birthday. And I was really living life around my friends, which I love them, but goddamn,
Yeah.
so exhausting, because I wanted to be there for every event, because I was like, oh, I can be there because I can work from anywhere, so I can do that. But no, my body couldn't do that. And so nowadays, as I say no a lot more often to friends who are like, oh, come to my wedding in Colombia and do like a 54-hour flight.
Oh my goodness. Wow. 54 hours.
54 hours with like a long layover in Turkey. And then there was a delay on the flight from Bogota to Cartagena, and it was like insane. So
Cartagena. I went to go to Cartagena one day. I bet that was beautiful, but oh my gosh. Yeah, that's some, I think the longest I've traveled is about 36 hours, and that was still plenty. 54 hours. Oh my goodness. Wow.
And so I don't do that anymore. I'm like, no.
Yes. Was that hard? Was that something easy for you to learn, to be able, like you said, you say no a lot more often now. Was that, do you identify as like a people pleaser? Is it hard for you to say no, or were you able to be like, no, I'm sick, like this is, or whatever it was that, allowed you to start setting boundaries better, I guess?
It was definitely really hard. Like I was definitely a people pleaser. I probably still am in some kind of ways, but I've gotten a lot better at it. I say no a lot more, and I put myself first a lot more, because now I truly understand and know that when I'm good, I can give to other people. And if I'm not good, how can I give to other people from a half empty cup or whatever?
Yes. Oh, so true. So true. So true. And I bet that's just in the nature of the work that you do, you can't be depleted, right? When
No.
you're showing up and holding space for
Yeah,
somebody, right?
yeah, yeah.
I mean, that I would assume, I know for me, like sometimes the one-on-one work that I do can be just kind of emotionally tiring, draining, even though I love it. It's hard, where I've got to feel full. I've got to have energy to bring to like sit there and be one-on-one with somebody for an hour. And I would think that's the
Exactly.
same for you.
Yeah, absolutely. You cannot be in a bad space and then give and hold space for people. That's just not serving anyone, not you and not the other person.
Yeah, exactly. Bad for you. And they're not getting a good experience either. Wow. So, let's see. So yeah, really I was kind of bringing it back in. So for you, it really was like there was a big line in the sand of like getting sick and things to really turn it around. And then, just the process of recovery and I'm sure just learn, on the personal development side of things too, of just like always learning more and more about yourself and coming more and more into alignment. What would you say, I guess, what advice would you give to somebody who is maybe in a similar situation? Like they've got multiple jobs, or they have this dream that they're going after, but they're kind of all over like maybe they're hearing this and they're really identifying, and can see themselves in your story. What advice would you give them?
I think that a lot of people like that, and myself included, in the past, are looking too much into the future and have a lot of anxiety of how to make things happen, and they want to make everything happen. So there's a few things here that I would say is, first of all, I would say focus on the moment and ask yourself what makes yourself feel good in the moment, what makes yourself feel happy in the moment, what will bring you joy in the moment, and really ask yourself these questions throughout the day so you can just feel better as you're, going about all your different tasks. And then this is what really stuck with me, which is why I ultimately made my decision. Somebody said, if you're having 5 jobs, which job can you give 100% to? That's why nothing is fully working out. So, after I stopped then giving 25% or 20% to 5 jobs, I started giving 50% to 2 jobs. And now I'm at the point where I can give 100% to my hypnosis business, which is obviously showing. So that decision you have to make for yourself. And that whoever said that to me was like really impactful. Like, give it 100%. Like whatever you do, just give it 100% if you can.
Yeah.
And then saying no, like we discussed, saying no is so important, and really, really putting yourself first and not burning yourself out, because I feel like we forget to live a lot of times with all of our self-development, with all of our analyzing ourselves and our jobs and whatever. It's like we forget to live. We forget to just be in the moment and just say like, hey, let me go outside and take a walk, or let me go for a dance, or let me just, draw with my kids or whatever.
Yeah. What are practices that you do that you're able to be in the moment and really just enjoy life and be present?
For me, it's dance. Oh, I have such a love for dance. And at the moment, it's also like partner dance, like salsa, bachata, kizomba. It just takes me into a different world, and I could dance for hours and not be tired.
Yeah.
And when I'm at home, it's like going for a walk and just enjoying food, like being present with the food, sitting down with the food, and really being present with food. That's something very simple, like really, tasting and feeling the texture and just really sensing the food. And it's or what else, like drawing also brings me to another dimension. I feel like we think this is such a waste of time. Here's the thing, we think all of these things are such a waste of time, or they're going to take away time from whatever it is that we need to do. But oh my God, how much joy do they bring us? How much energy do they replenish for us if we do those things?
And that's really what we want, right? At the end of the day, it's not the dreams that were, like you said, you really wanted freedom, right? With the travel, you wanted to travel and have this digital nomadic life because you really wanted freedom. So And then, yeah, we can do these beautiful things that allow us to feel good without like the chasing. Oh, yes. So good. And do you find, just to kind of wrap up and bring it back to what you do, I'm curious, just in the clients that you work with, how often do you see people in a similar place where, they may be nearing burnout or kind of having that pattern as well?
Often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think, is there, if you had to say, like, what do you think is like that thing that leads them to burnout, just from your perspective of what the work you do?
I would say people pleasing is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say a lack of confidence,
Mm.
because they're not confident in giving one thing 100%.
Yeah.
And believing in themselves that they can make it happen within 1 or 2 months, instead of they're like, oh, believing society's lies, oh, I have to do this and that before I can do this and that. And then eventually after like 6 years, I'll have a successful business and blah, blah, blah. So that's really another thing. And I think especially with women, we sell ourselves short, we undercharge, we are not confident enough. We just don't have the audacity that men have, just to say, hey, here, I'm the shit. You pay me this amount and that's what we're going to do, whatever.
Yes.
So especially with us women, we have this ingrained people pleasing and this ingrained like, oh, I'm not worthy enough, or I'm not good enough at this, or whatever. So this is especially for women, or with women, this is what I'm working through.
Yeah. So then they're undercharging, so they're not making enough money. So then they have to work twice as hard, or they have to keep another job or multiple jobs in order to bring in money, in order to, oh my gosh, such a cycle. Wow. So tell us, if somebody, is like, wanting to, what does working with you look like? If somebody, was interested in that, where can they find you? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so if you want to work with me, especially on burnout or some trauma related things, I have a 4, 6, or 12 months program where we can work together on a month-to-month basis, and then you can have certain amount of sessions per month. And with every session, we tackle whatever it is on the day that you want to tackle. And so the more you do hypnosis, the more of your own power within you get to access. And the more you do that, the more you find your own power, the more you find yourself in silence, and you enjoy that silence, and you really, really extract the power out of the silence. When you learn how to do that, you can do anything. And that's why I love hypnosis so much. Like, it really brings me into my power when I do it with clients, but also when I see them do it, and when I see them do it for a longer period of time. It's just like they become powerful, and they get to know about their own power, and they're getting rid of all this trauma and all these stupid beliefs that we've had in the past, but they're really stepping into their power and doing the things and manifesting whatever it is that they want. And if you want to work with me, you can reach me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, wherever you want. I'm literally everywhere.
And we'll put your links below. And then you do have a free breathwork audio. If somebody wants to check that out, we'll put that in the link below. I think you're just absolutely amazing. I've told you, even when I've listened to like of audio, like a replay of something that you've done, it's been transformational. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And yes, please go find Jenny if you're ready to get out of burnout and get free, right?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me, Lori. I appreciate you.